Hello, everyone, and we're here to talk about why this time the bull signals and the bull run is real and it's not just another bear trap. First of all, I caught a 66-inch lake sturgeon today, so that's a big bull signal. However, the on the charts, if you actually look on both Bitcoin and Ethereum, because we have to look at Ethereum now, because Ethereum has a lot of influence on altcoins. If you look at the charts right now, the Bitcoin USD chart, you can see the daily MACD has been positive since about the 4th of September for a week. And just today, we closed above the 50 MA. Two huge bullish signals that say that momentum is definitely swinging more to bullish. Now, if you look at the not only the daily MACD, you look at the weekly chart here, which is more telling long term. The weekly chart here for Bitcoin. Let me just bring this up. Here we go. The weekly chart for Bitcoin. Let me switch this to week. It's kind of like stuck right now, but the weekly chart for Bitcoin, you can see that the weekly MACD is negative, but you can see by the light pink color here that it's turning more positive, less negative. And generally when that happens, that's when we've already reached a local bottom. Like pretty much every time we basically reach a local bottom in terms of price, basically like when this actually happens. So that means that when this turns from like deep red to pink, that's like when we get off the bottom and we start going up. So on the weekly, that's very, very good sign right now. And I'm more confident that like that 105, like 106, 107, that was the bottom last time, which means the trend line overall is going up. Obviously, the 50 MA on the weekly is going up. So that's a very good sign right there. But even on the day, we closed above the 50 MA, and this is the opportunity here. The last sign that we're looking for is that the 50 MA is curving back up. Because here you see like when the 50 MA curved back up after like 2 months, we actually started going back up in price. But now it has only taken about 2 weeks for the 50 MA to basically like hit its bottom and hopefully curve back up. And there's definitely signs of it curving back up. So on the Bitcoin charts, that is most excellent. But now we got to look at the Ethereum charts, because Ethereum goes, as a lot of the altcoin goes. You look at the daily on Ethereum, the MACD is actually positive right now, which is very good. But you look at this, we are well above the 50 MA, and honestly, we never fell below the 50 MA on the daily. So Ethereum definitely has the momentum going upwards. Now, the volume worries me a bit, but not too much. If you look on the weekly for Ethereum, like, yes, Ethereum on the weekly did actually go down, went down from like January of 25 to about June of 25, but it's been on the upswing ever since. And realistically, like the 50 MA is like actually like jolting up on a very steep incline, so that's a very positive signal for that. Now on the MACD, basically like our MACD for the weekly has been positive since May, and right now it looks like it's getting more positive, not less positive. So Ethereum seems to be going up right now as well on a very good pace, and I do actually think we are going to get $5,000, perhaps even by the end of this weekend, but probably sometime next week. So that's very, very good to see for the Ethereum and Bitcoin charts. Pretty much every single point is basically going towards positive. We just need to see the daily 50 MA start going back up. And since we actually did close above the 50 MA, if we can manage to stay above 115 maybe for like 2 or 3 more days, we will see that, and I'm almost sure we'll do that, and that will be the final confirmation. So the signals look really, really good. In terms of like the other stuff, it looks very good as well. We got past the labs obstacle to our rate cut. We mentioned that in our last couple of videos. So the rate cut is 100%. The 25 basis point rate cut is already priced in, but I'm almost sure that Jerome Powell is going to say that we are open for more rate cuts because the labor numbers were so horrible, and the CPI numbers do not counteract that, as they weren't bad. They weren't great, but they were not bad. So on that front, I think the Fed is loosening up. People smell it. And the interest rate's probably going to go down by 75 basis points by the end of this year. That'll be about 3.5 percentage points. And that is around the trigger point where a lot of the bonds will probably start coming into stocks. Now, I want to talk about that number that everyone keeps mentioning, $7 trillion. Now, if you actually think $7 trillion is going to come from bonds to stocks, you're insane. That's not happening. Some of that money is always going to stay in bonds. There's always going to be people that want to invest safely. Not everyone's going to want to take the leap from bonds to crypto, because that's a super leap from things that are very safe to things that are not safe at all. So there's not a lot of people that are going to jump to that. Some of that obviously is going to go into the stock market as well, and the stock market is going to boost even higher because of that. It may not help Main Street, but it will actually help Wall Street. But some of that inevitably will come into crypto, especially as pension funds and retirement funds start adopting crypto, and that is a big deal. So yeah, definitely look towards that. How much of the 7 trillion will actually come towards crypto? I think if we get 500 billion of the 7 trillion, that's going to be a big win. I mean, 500 billion is a lot more than what Michael Saylor even has in Bitcoin. So you can actually see how much that will boost up the crypto market. Remember, you might say that the overall crypto market is nearly $4 trillion. So $500 billion would only boost it up a little bit more than 10%, but that's not how that math works. It's not a 1-to-1 dollar effect. A lot of times it's 1 to 10, or even 1 to 20 or 1 to 30 in terms of how much dollars actually pours in and how much the market cap goes up. And the rest of how much you can withdraw is based on how much liquidity the market has. But if you're like me and you just want to draw let's say less than $1 million, it will not affect the market at all. So you can actually withdraw a huge amount of money without affecting the market. It's really like people like Michael Saylor, the Winklevoss twins, Satoshi Nakamoto that won't be able to withdraw all their money without causing the market to crash. But I don't think those guys really want to withdraw all of it anyways. So I'm not really too afraid of that. So realistically, these signals are all very positive at this point. The regulation is very positive. The SEC doesn't want to meddle with this, which is very positive, at least for this bull run. I don't think it's really that great for the long run for crypto, but it's at least really good for this bull run. The macroeconomics look really good. And I don't really see anything stopping us short of Russia and NATO basically nuking each other, which won't happen. I mean, Russia essentially sent a drone over the border into Poland. They're not going to start nuking each other over that. They're not that insane. Even Vladimir Putin's not that insane. So that's probably going to get resolved sooner or later. I think NATO is going to send a strongly worded message, and then Putin's really not going to care. So we can avert nuclear war at least for a year or two. So at least, even if we have nuclear war, you can enjoy this bull run before that nuclear war destroys the world. And when the nuclear war destroys the world, at least you will have your Bitcoin. So overall, very bullish in basically all aspects: charts, macro, economic outlook, all this stuff. And once again, 150 to 180, possibly even higher than 180. Both Bitcoin and Ethereum charts look very good from the onset. And you also have other news like Tether is actually creating a new coin for the US market, which will actually play a big deal in the US market because Tether's treasuries are rather huge. They have over $100 billion in US bonds, and they can actually make this coin grow very quickly. So obviously this is going to be an extension of Tether, but it's going to comply with US regulations. It's called USAT, a new stablecoin for US regulatory compliance. Tether unveiled USAT, a dollar-peg stablecoin tailored for U.S. rules, with ex-White House advisor Bo Hines named CEO. By isolating USAT reserves, Tether can pass audits without disrupting its ability to mint and back global USDT tokens. Holding $100 billion in U.S. Treasuries positions Tether to meet compliance needs while securing its role in regulated stablecoins. So, by isolating it from other assets, Tether can permit limited audits that don't impede its ability to mint new USDT tokens. The firm holds around $100 billion in US Treasuries, so it can significantly commit to USAT. So basically, Tether's been taking huge profits. They can actually use those profits to print more stablecoins, and USAT is essentially their extension into the United States. They'll section off USAT, and it'll be separate from the rest of their business. So USAT will be fully regulatory compliant, and you can actually use it in the United States. I think the liquidity for something like USAT is going to grow very, very quickly because of Tether's backing, and that's just another, I think, guaranteed stablecoin that you can actually use in the United States, which is really, really cool. So that's going to help U.S. liquidity as well. There's also a really strong chance the U.S. will form a strategic Bitcoin reserve this year, which is even more bullish news than that we actually have forward to looking to. So basically, Galaxy Digital's Alex Thorne says the market is underpricing the odds of a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve forming this year. Now, there's already kind of like legislation for one and ideas for one, but actually forming one and then buying Bitcoin is a different thing altogether. Others are skeptical, but I think there is a very strong chance that we will form. This will basically formally say that the U.S. isn't going to sell off any more of its Bitcoin, and maybe formally say what we can actually do to buy Bitcoin, more specific, which is what we want. There's a high likelihood that the United States government will form the highly anticipated strategic Bitcoin reserve by the end of this year, says Galaxy Digital's head of firm-wide research, Alex Thorne. However, other industry executives are less confident. I still think there's a strong chance the U.S. government will announce this year that it has formed the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, SBR, and is formally holding BTC as a strategic asset, Thorne said in an X post on Thursday. Market seems to be completely underpricing the likelihood of such an announcement, Thorne added. While U.S. President Donald Trump signed the executive order officially establishing the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile in March, a formalized strategic plan has not been confirmed yet. However, several recent developments suggest the plan is still progressing. On Tuesday, U.S. lawmakers introduced a bill directing the U.S. Treasury to examine and produce a report on the feasibility and technical considerations of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Meanwhile, on July 31st, Cointelegraph reported that Trump's crypto liaison confirmed that the administration is keen on Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, despite only briefly mentioning it in its recently published crypto policy report. Not all crypto market participants agree it will happen soon. However, CoinRoute's former chairman Dave Weisberger said it's more likely to happen in 2026. Weisberger added that he has made the point many times that this administration is too smart to announce anything until after they accumulate their initial target. Some prominent Bitcoin advocates worry that the U.S. could fall behind if they delayed accumulating Bitcoin any further. Now, it obviously depends on like how they actually accumulate Bitcoin. Will it only be through seizure, which would actually not be good for us, or will they actually commit or revalue gold to buy Bitcoin or do something else? Like whether it's really good for us or not really depends on all of that. I can't really haphazardly make a guess about what they'll actually do. This administration is very, very unpredictable in what they will actually do. So hopefully they will do something good. But overall, like that's very positive as well. Now the altcoin stockpile thing is different. They're not going to buy anything for that. Like they might just seize stuff for that, and that can actually be sold. So Bitcoin is really the only strategic reserve we're going to get at this point. But Bitcoin will pull the rest of the coins up with it if we formulate one this year, along with the rate cuts and along with the good macros and basically like all the technical analysis signals signaling that Bitcoin is basically going upward. That's just a really big win for us. So this bull run right now is pretty unstoppable unless like nuclear war or something else happens. It's not going away. I don't really see how the bears like take back over within the next few months. I guess anything's really possible, but I don't really see the economic indicators growing that bad. Now would actually be the time to switch from Bitcoin into a couple of altcoins. And remember, once you get a couple of multipliers, do take some profits. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.